So this is the data dictionary of our database, which is the point of sale or POS database management system. So these are based on our ARD model here. So this one. So first we will discuss the table. So this one is table name. This is intended for entity. This attributes name is for the attributes of our entity. The content, or what are the content of our attribute, this one. Then what are the type, the format, which is what are we expected to look like. Then the range of our attributes from then required, if it is required or not. Then p-key or f-key. P-key is primary key, then f-key is a foreign key, then f-key reference table. So we'll discuss this one later on. So first we'll go to the ARD model. So ARD model, we have here this one. So we will just pick one relationship here. So here we pick first the relationship between the product and the employee. So the product has three attributes. This one, the quantity, the item number, and then the price. So it has a primary key which is the item number. And for the employee, we have 7 attributes: the phone number, address, birth, sex, employee number, name, salary. So the primary key here is the number of employees. So we'll go to the table. So here we have our entity, the product, and this is its attribute. So first is the primary key of our entity, which is product. This one is the item number, which is the attribute's name, and the content is item number of the product. The type is varchar, which is variable and character, and the format, this one here is only sample only. Then it has no range, it is required, and it is a p-key or a primary key. So the next attribute for the product is the quantity. So the quantity has a content of the quantity of the items. Then the type is also varchar. Then this is the format, which is this one. This is only a sample format. Then it is required. The last attributes for the product is the the price. The price has the content of the price of the product. Then it is also a varchar, variable character. Then this is the sample format. Then it is required. So the next one is the entity employee. Employee has an primary key, which is the employee number, and the content of the employee number is the employee ID number. Then the type is variable character. Then this is the sample format for the employee ID, this one. Then it has no range. Then it is required. Then it is a primary key. The next one is the address. This one here. Address has a content of the address of the employee. The type is varchar. Then this is the sample format, and it has no range and it is required. The next attribute for the employee is birth date. Birth date, the content is the birth date of the employee. So the type is also varchar. Then this is the sample format. So this one is for the month, the day, the year, and it has no range and it is required. So the next is the sex, which is the content is the gender of the employee. So the type is enum, which is enumerated by M for male and F for female. So the range has this have no range, then it is required. So the next is the phone number. So the content is the employee phone number. The data type is, or the type is, we use tinyInt for this for these attributes, and this is the sample and this is the sample format. This one, it has no range and it is required. Next will be the employee name. Employee name has a content of the name of the employee. It has a type of varchar, which or variable character, and this one is the sample format for the employee name, and it has no range and it is required. Next is salary. This one here. Salary has the content of the employee salary. The type is tinyInt, and the range and the format is just like this. This is the sample format. It has no range and it is required. So this one here, the item number FK and the customer name FK. So we will go to the ARD model here. So here, this one, employee name product. Then according to the rule that the many side will inherit the primary key of the one side. So since the employee has a relationship between the customer and the product, and the customer has a primary key of customer name, then the product has a item number, which is the primary key. So these primary keys will be the foreign key of the employee, which is this one here. So this is for the product, and this is for the customer. Then the content of this one is the item number. Then the type is varchar. Then this is the sample format. It has no range rather. Then it is required. Then it is a foreign key from the table product. This one here. this one. Then for the customer name, the content will be uh, the name of the customer. Then the type is varchar. Then this is the mm, sample format. This one here, it has no range. It is required that it is uh, foreign key from the customer. So this one. So next is the table for customer. Customer has one attribute, which is the customer name, and it has the content of the name of the customer. The type is varchar, and the uh, this is the sample format, and it has no range. It is required, and it is a primary key. So this one is a foreign key. So we'll go back to the ERD model. So they have a relationship between the product and the customer, and the customer has the many sides. So this primary key here will inherit by the customers as a foreign key. So we will put this item number to the table of customer, which is this one. Item number, which is from the product, then the content is the item number, then the data type is, or the type is varchar, which is variable character. Then this is the mm, sample format. This one here is a sample format, and it has no range. It is required, and it is foreign key from the table product. So next is the supervisor. Supervisor has, so we'll look first the ERD table. So the supervisor has one attributes, which is the supervisor name, and it has a relation between the employee. So since the supervisor has the many side, the P key or the primary key of the employee will inherit by the supervisor. So we'll look the table, and so this one here is the attributes of the supervisor, which is the supervisor name. Then the content is the name of the supervisor. Then the type is varchar. Then this is the sample format. It has no range. It is required, and it is a primary key. So this one is a foreign key from the employee. So employee number, FK, or foreign key. Then the content is the employee ID of the employee ID number. This one. Then the type is varchar or variable character, and this one is the sample format, and this has no range. Then it is required. It is a foreign key from the employee table. So next, go back to the ERD model. So the next relationship is the relationship between the records and the company. So the company has only one attributes while the record has five. So we'll go back to the table. So the record has five attributes: one, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the record here from the ERD model has no P key or primary key. So we'll the first attribute is the employee record. So the content is the record of the employee. Then the type is tiny text. Then this is the sample format. It is required and it has no range. So the second attribute is ordered product. So the content is the product ordered. Then the type is varchar. Then it has see, this one is the sample format. It has no range and it is required. Next is materials. Materials has content of the materials. Then the type is varchar. Then this is the sample format. It has no range and it is required. Date of arrive. So date of arriving is the content. Then the type will be the varchar. Then this is the sample format. This is for the month, this is for the day, then the year. Then it has no range and it is required. Last is the computer components. Computer components has the content of the components of the computer. Then the type will be varchar. Then this is the sample format. It has no range and it is required. So we'll go to the company entity. Company has one entity, one attributes, one attributes, and there is two foreign key. So we'll see where did these two foreign key came from. So let's go back to the ARD model. So here, company has 4 relationship and 3 of them are many-side from the company. So since the record has no P key or a primary key, we cannot inherit any of these attributes from the record. So the supervisor has one P key or primary key, and the supplier has also one primary key. So these two primary key will inherit by the company. So since it is the rule, the many side will inherit the primary key of the one side. So go back to the data dictionary. So here, this is the attribute of the company, which is the company name. The content is the name of the company. The type is varchar. Then this is the sample format. It has no range. It is required. Then it is a primary key. So next is the foreign key name. The name has the content of the name of the supplier. Then The type is varchar. Then this is a sample form. This is the first name, middle name, then the last name, and it has no range. It is required, and it is a foreign key from the table supplier. Next is the supervisor name, if key, foreign key. The content is the name of the supervisor. The type is varchar. Then same for the name, it has the same format. The first name, middle name, last name. Then it has no range. It is required. It is foreign key from the table supervisor. Next is the supplier. So this one. Supplier has two attributes with one p key or a primary key. So supplier name, the content of the name is the name of the supplier. Then the type is varchar. Then this is the sample format. It has no range. It is required, and it is primary key. Next attribute is the location. Location has the content of the location of the supplier. Then the type is varchar, variable character. Then this is the sample format. It has no range, and it is required. So last but not the least, the manager. So we'll go back to our ARD model. So the manager has a relationship with the company. So since the manager has a many side in company, so this one here from the company will inherit this one here, the primary key of the company will inherit by the manager to be the foreign key. So, and also the manager has only one attribute. Go back to the table. The manager, this one is the attribute, which is the manager name. The content is the name of the manager. The type is varchar. Then this is the sample format. It has no range. It is required, and it is a primary key. This one is a foreign key from the company. A company name FK, or the company name foreign key. So the content, the name of the company, the type is also varchar. Then this is the sample format, and it has no range. It is required, and it is a foreign key from the table company. So that is our data dictionary